to have Rob Ryder join us. He's a local small business owner here in Leesburg. So for those of you who haven't joined us before, we do a community spotlight interview each week, and we are trying to just keep everyone informed about different providers and local small business owners in the area. You can get to know them a little bit better, the different services they offer, things like that. So I'm very excited tonight to have Rob. Rob and I met, I think, last year at a marketing event, and we just built a relationship on different patients that we would refer to each other. And we have had a great relationship, and our patients have had great success seeing the two of us for different things. So first of all, I just want to welcome you, Rob. Thanks so much for coming on. Welcome.
Thanks very much. I appreciate you having me.
Wonderful. So Rob is owner of Stay in Motion Adapt Stretch over in downtown Leesburg. Rob, maybe first thing you can tell everybody about just a little bit about your background, kind of what got you into, massage and FST, and let everybody know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found massage as a second career. I started out in retail as a teenager, like a lot of folks, and I actually enjoyed working in retail. It allowed me to be of service to people, so I enjoyed that. What I found was I had a natural gift for leadership. So no matter where it was I worked, I quickly went up the ladder, which was great. It's what I wanted. At the same time, the further up the ladder I went, the further away from helping people I went. So, I had a 25-year career in the service industry, and a lot of that in retail and management, but just got burned out. It was time for a change, and I had several boxes that I wanted to check in trying to decide what I wanted to do. Beyond that, I wanted to get back to being of service to people. I wanted to do that, more one-on-one. Wanted to feel like I was making an impact with folks. So I did some research, was originally thinking personal training. I had just lost a lot of weight, and that was kind of in the forefront of my mind. And I had never even had a massage. But the more I researched, the more I realized personal training, you really got to be there morning, noon, and night. And not what I wanted. I was just getting out of that. But the more I looked into personal training, the more I started seeing massage pop up. The two industries are very similar. So I started looking into that, and it checked all the boxes. And the one box I hadn't even considered was that it demands personal care, self-care, which was something I needed at the time, not something I had really prioritized. So I thought, okay, maybe I should probably go get a massage and make sure I'm okay with this before I jump in. It seems kind of silly. So I was, 42? I've never even had a massage.
Wow.
My wife and I went and got one together, and it's like, okay, this is good. And jumped into massage school. That was in 2013. And it's been great. I've been able to do exactly what I said I wanted to do. I've been able to get back to helping people. I do that one-on-one. So I'm able to see it very much like what you do. You're able to see that improvement. You're able to see, the face of the client when they walk in the door, and their face when they go back out. And that was really a big thing for me to be able to do that. And, being of service to people is what I've always wanted to do. And I've been able to do that, and shifting careers was not easy, but it's worked out great. I'm glad I made that decision.
I'm glad you made it too, Rob. That's awesome. For those of you who don't know, I've been seeing Rob, myself for, my own kind of health needs for the past year. And I can assure you it is much more than just your average massage. When you go see Rob, he does all sorts of different services and different things. I think that I'm glad you told me, Rob. I had no idea you had never had a massage until 42 for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very strange.
Wow. But yeah, definitely with that much experience in retail and the service industry, I definitely think this was a great fit for you. What I guess is, one thing that you can tell people that really, sets you apart from just going in for a normal massage? Because I know, myself seeing you for this long, it's much more than just a massage. So maybe you could tell people a little bit about, um, what makes you different and the other types of things they can expect if they were to come see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those loaded questions. I've got about 5 answers to this question, depending on what environment I'm in, how much time I have. So I consider myself a motion therapist, and this really kind of just evolved over time. It started out as just straight up massage, and working on clients and picking up continuing ed courses. And as I started getting in more into the connective tissue, more into fascia and fascial stretch therapy, which I'll talk about, I just started realizing that, the common denominator, no matter what kind of client I was seeing, it all comes back to motion. I see a lot of different clients. They come in with a lot of different issues. But when you boil it down, every client is just trying to stay in motion. And that's what it came to for me was, what I refer to as motion therapy. I refer to it as neuromyofascial motion therapy, which is a big word. It's a fancy word. It just means that I'm affecting the client's nervous system, their musculoskeletal system, most importantly, their fascial network, that connective tissue that holds us all together. There are a lot of folks who will work on your muscles, and, some folks who work on your fascia specifically, and they're going to work here or they're going to work here. But when I treat a client, I do that globally. I don't think of the client as a muscle group here, a muscle group there. I think of fascial lines or fascial nets. I think of how when you have plantar fasciitis, I can work the foot, but I've never resolved plantar fasciitis at the foot. I don't know any therapist who has ever resolved plantar fasciitis at the foot. You got to work that calf. You got to work the hamstring. You got to work up the back. And, honestly, I've relieved, plantar fasciitis more along the ridge of the head, because that's the opposite end of that fascial net. So I guess the biggest thing that makes me different is, whether I'm stretching, whether I'm massaging, cupping, no matter what it is, it's about treating the body as a whole globally and not getting distracted with, a problem here and a problem there. Very often clients, you feel something, I get a pain here very often. For the longest time, I thought, it's my shoulder. We think shoulder up here. In reality, it was my pec, but you can get that in the hip too. You have a problem with one hip and it affects the other shoulder. So there are a lot of connections with the connective tissue. And that's what I focus on, trying to release that to help the client stay in motion.
Awesome. I love that you mentioned the nervous system. One thing I learned after seeing you for a while, Rob, is how much is connected in our fascia, how that is intertwined with our nervous system and nerve cells. As a chiropractor myself, I'm, infatuated with nerves and things like that. So, I myself, as well as the patients I referred to you, have seen a great, improvement, because I think that fascia and that network is so interconnected with the nervous system and those cells.
Absolutely.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about, FST specifically, because I do get a lot of patients, that do ask me about fascial stretch therapy. So maybe you could tell us some about that, and maybe how you got into that and the philosophy behind it.
Yeah. So, like I said, massage 2013 was going along with that. That was great. In 2016, I went to a continuing ed course, and there was a young lady there, one of the therapists, her T-shirt on, and said DMV stretch. And I'd always been interested in stretching. I'm flexibly challenged. So, I asked her about it, and she was like, yeah, it's really easier if I just show you. So I said, okay. We skipped lunch, and she gave me a lower body session of fascial stretch therapy. And it was, to this day, still the most relief I had ever gotten from anything. By that point, I'd had quite a few massages and some other therapy as well. But I came up off that table feeling released like I had never felt before, and not lethargic. Sometimes you get up from the massage table and you're a little slow, the massage coma, as we like to call it. But when I got up off of that table, I was released, opened up. I felt so much lighter, but I felt engaged, and that's what a lot of folks tell me. That's what my pro athletes. When you talk to a pro athlete, and pro athletes were doing fascial stretch therapy long before anybody else, and they'll tell you that they find it energizing. They'll get released with massage. Very often it doesn't last too long, but with fascial stretch therapy, they get released, but they also feel engaged, energized, very active. So yeah, with fascial stretch therapy, not to get too deep into it, I could talk for an hour. My wife could attest to that. But it's a matter of stretching that connective tissue, assisted stretching. The client gets on the table, they're clothed, and we go through a series of stretches. I move the body in and out. There's a lot of traction. Over time, our bodies, even just gravity alone compresses us. So there's a lot of traction. There's a lot of pulling involved. We create space in the joint capsules, which allows me to get into that fascial line, that fascial net, and we start stretching. It's an active session. It's not something you're going to fall asleep on, although there are some people who try and maybe do here and there. But it's active. There is some active breathing involved. There's some gentle pushing and pulling against resistance. But it is a very gentle service, which was something else I enjoyed about it. It's something that I can do with, pro athletes, but I also have clients in their 70s and 80s, some people that just want to be able to put their shoes on, and I can do that with them. And, I've done some other work. I've learned some other soft stretch techniques. So it's a very gentle thing. A lot of times clients think, stretching, I'm no good at stretching. I'm too tight. My wife, stretching for her is very painful. And for a lot of people, it's very painful. But even she, 10 or 15 minutes into it, she's yawning and kind of conking out. I've seen you do the same thing.
Yeah.
You get on the table and you just kind of, sometimes I'll ask a client, okay, give me a little push here. And I don't get anything. It's like, okay, did they not hear me? No, they heard me. They were asleep. So they heard me in their head, but it didn't register. So yeah, that's fascial stretch therapy. It's very unique. It's very specialized. There are maybe about 10,000 of us in the world that do this. There are only 2 or 3 in the state of Virginia that are certified at my level. At my level, the level 3 medical, there are less than 500 of us in the world. So it is very unique, very specialized. And, along with all the other techniques I do, along with the massage, like I said, the cupping, the vibration, I also do some holistic coaching and things like that. So yeah, all of that stuff put together, designed to help keep people in motion.
Wonderful. Yes. And I definitely can definitely have those patients that do not like to do their stretches. So, people who are maybe exactly like you said, I'm too tight, or,
Yeah.
I'm not flexible, or, what do my patients always, I've got tight hamstrings. I've always had tight hamstrings, things like that, who, may be discouraged to, come see you or be afraid to, come get stretched. Is it painful? Is it something that, with patients that are, maybe inflexible or they're very tight, how do you work in with those clients who, maybe a little bit apprehensive about, stretch therapy because they know that they're just very tight and wound up?
Yeah, so it's a very gentle approach from the beginning, especially the first session. We'll do a really, really thorough intake and assessment. We do some measurements and just kind of get a good idea of not just what's causing your pain, not just what's in pain, but what's causing the pain. So we'll jump into it, and when I say jump, it's a very, very gentle jump. We move the body very gently. There are some people where, I'll grab the leg and I'll move it and they're really good and we can get into some deep, stretches. But I have some clients, just lifting the leg off the table, just, 6 or 8 inches up off the table, and they're in pain. So it requires a very, very gentle touch. Some clients come in and, and maybe, they're in a really, really severe place, and it takes me a month or so just to be able to get to the point where I can stretch them. We're moving them and we're working through some of these pain levels, because, a lot of folks, their connective tissue has never been worked before. You've never experienced work into that connective tissue. So it takes some time. So it is a very, very cautious, very slow, very deliberate. I'm really good at listening, whether it's, and I think Jasmine actually said that in her video that I posted today. It's listening to what the client's saying, but it's listening to the body. The body's amazing. It wants to function perfectly. I mean,
Right.
the whole purpose for it existing is to function well. Everything it does, every single day, every second, is to try and function better. So if I listen to the body and let the body guide me, no matter what modality I'm doing, the body will guide us. It wants to feel better. It wants to get in a good place. And so, yeah, nice, gentle work, very slow, very deliberate, and never going any place the client doesn't want to go. And in fact, if anything, I'll get some clients who, have average to good flexibility, and they come out of it feeling like, yeah, I probably could have used a little bit more in that first session because I am so, so deliberate with it. And then it's just a matter of getting to know the client session to session.
Absolutely. And earlier you had mentioned, really treating your clients, globally, not just looking at the foot for plantar fasciitis. And I love that, about you, because you're absolutely right. It's usually not just, one particular spot. So, what are some of the conditions that you get really great results with your, FST and your stretch therapies that you do? What types of conditions, that people may be dealing with? Obviously right now, where stress levels are very high, and we can see how that can manifest in people's physical tissues and things like that. But what are some of a lot of the common conditions that you see your clients for?
The things you deal with every day. When I talk to some of my pro athletes, they'll talk about the stuff that's going on in their body and how they're feeling in relation to their training and on the field. But a lot of it comes back to, and they'll talk about this too, their ability to play with their kids, do things day to day around the house, mow the yard. Right now we're seeing a lot of shoulders, people at home working, they're in strange positions, working on, ironing boards and all sorts of makeshift desks. And you get those shoulders that start to creep up, especially with the stress. We're getting neck issues. So, certainly a lot of shoulders. The shoulder is a very complicated joint. So we get in there, we work the shoulders. The neck is a great place. And, the upper body, when I work the upper body with fascial stretch therapy, that's very, very gentle. We've got smaller joints. They're more vulnerable there in the shoulders. So the movements are very, certainly smaller than in the lower body. And we go through and we just gently work everything as we do. Our traction is even more gentle there in the upper body. So neck, shoulders, folks with back issues, that's another thing we're seeing right now. A lot of folks sitting, and as I'm sitting here, I gotta correct myself. You're sitting in awkward positions again. You're in chairs that are not your office chairs. They're not the chairs that are designed to have you sitting in them and working from them for lots of hours on end. So back issues, hip issues. See a lot of athletes come in, not so much right now, but golfers, tennis players, just all sorts, all ranges. My youngest client, I think, was 8. Oldest client was 85, and everybody in between. And sometimes the clients come in and they think they're dealing with one thing, And we started, evaluating that and treating that. And before you know it, we're into something else. And it turned out it was something else. I treated a client for 2 years, addressing a lot of stuff that needed to be addressed. And in the end, she still had skeletal issues, and we got her off to see you and getting that corrected as well. So sometimes it ends up being something that you're not expecting.
Now, I was looking at your website earlier, Rob, which, a lot of people, if they're listening right now, they can check it out. It's stayinmotion.biz, and you've got a lot of new things on there. You've done a great job branding it. Maybe tell some of our listeners about the new services that you're offering now.
Sure. Yeah. As I came through with, massage, it was very massage oriented. And then I discovered fascial stretch therapy, and it was very either or. They were very segregated. There wasn't a lot of mixing massage with fascial stretch therapy, but over time, and as I picked up other modalities and experiences and education and tools, a lot of it came down to the proper tools. Things started blending together a lot, and most clients will come in and most clients, they really don't have a clue whether they're experiencing stretching or massage. They just know that it works. But as far as the services being laid out, I took this time and kind of rebranded things a little bit. I wanted to create a little bit of separation in the services, but really pushing people more towards, again, the neuromyofascial motion therapy. That's the service that everybody's been getting for the most part. You've had that service. The service is no different now. It's just I'm trying to push people a little bit more towards that service. Come in the door, let me assess you. Let me see what it is you need. Sometimes people come in and they feel like they need a massage, and that's fine. We'll do that. And there are some people who just want massage, but a lot of people, they want that variation. That's what sets me apart from everybody else, is my ability to pivot between services. We come in and we think we're going to work on the back, and it turns out it's the hip or vice versa, and we see that all the time. So when you go on the website, you'll see it laid out 3 different services: fascial stretch therapy, therapeutic massage, and the neuromyofascial motion therapy. That's my specialty. That's what I would recommend for most clients, and that's what I see that gives me the best results with clients long term.
Wonderful. And obviously now with everything going on in the world, I know that you are probably offering some different online services. How are you accommodating your business or your clients right now to still be able to help them maybe virtually when they can't come into the office?
Yeah, obviously shut down like most folks, and everybody's online now, and everybody's offering so many different things. And I wanted to focus on my clients. I wanted to focus on those folks that I see all the time. So I've been really working with them, been keeping in touch with them. We've been emailing. I've done a few calls with folks. We've done some coaching. I've also done some remote helping. I was on the phone the other night on a video chat, walking a husband through how to, with his hands, release some issues that his wife was having in her neck and shoulders. I made some videos for that same person to show them how to use some of the tools that I recommended they get to help them. So I'm doing some of that. I'm available for self-stretch instruction, can certainly do that, whether that be one person or a group of people. Also consultations, talking to people on the phone, people who are interested in coming in, and being able to do that when we're allowed to get back to work. So I'm doing some of that as well, and hoping maybe in May, maybe early June, if not May, to get the doors back open and get some clients in here and start getting them some relief.
Well, I definitely highly recommend anyone who's listening to give Rob a call. At this point, I'd like to really open it up for any questions anybody who's listening may have. Go ahead and just post it there on the page. Definitely, Rob. I love also, I'm going to tell everybody about your building. I was pretty jealous when Rob found his space. He is in the blockchain building right on Harrison Street in Leesburg. And it is, what was it, the old sheriff's department? Was that correct, Rob?
It was a sheriff's department. It was a waterworks building at 1.2. And yeah, they gutted it and completely transformed it. What are some of your favorite things when you come in?
I mean, I just love the whole look of it. It's very industrial. It's very, I don't know if I want to say, it's just cool. They got downstairs next to you, they've got like a little yoga room, a little, a gym with some equipment in there. So, I mean, I wish I worked there. It's just always, every time I go in there, the music's always fun. Everybody's, very friendly. They've got different workspaces for different types of professionals. The artwork is super cool. I love, definitely kind of very like hipsterish kind of cool.
Yeah, there's something for most everybody here. It's whether it's just coming in and grabbing some coffee before your session, you can do that. Some clients like to come in and warm up. So there is a gym, there is a stretch lab. So some clients will get on the bike 5-10 minutes. Then they go in the stretch lab, they warm up, they do some self stretches. We find that some clients stretch better, as far as me stretching them when they're warm or when they've stretched ahead of time. So there's that. I've had clients come in and use the conference rooms. They have a 4:30 appointment, but all of a sudden their bosses over in Germany, want them on the phone at 4 o'clock. Instead of them canceling the session, we got them into a conference room. Had some folks, Dr. Colostro, I believe, she was here, and we did her session, and she was going Christmas shopping, I believe, and went up and sat upstairs and went through her list. And we've had some folks do that. So it's quite an interesting building. There are folks like myself who have designated leases here, but it's also a work share space. So that allows people to come in. You can pay a monthly fee and get access to the open space. And yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of energy here. A lot of entrepreneurs here. I've not been around entrepreneurs before, so this is my first experience, and just being around them is energizing. There's a lot of collaboration in the building, finding people, oh, I need this. Turns out, Tammy down the hall can do that for me. That's how I found my graphic designer, and she's done all these, the great artwork in my space. And so yeah, it's a lot of great stuff. I love this building. Love where I work.
Yes, agreed. One question we have from somebody, Rob, is they want to see your table, and I'm wondering, I guess, can you show us your table and how amazing it works?
It's probably a good thing we got this on the phone, because I definitely could not have done this.
Yeah.
With the computer. Let's see if I can.
The best thing about Rob's table, everybody, is it's heated. So, or do you just put a heat pack underneath? Is that what you do, Rob?
It is. It's a heating pad underneath.
I love, the best part is when you lay down Rob's table and you've got a heat pad on your lower back. It feels great.
So this is probably not, I wish I could turn the image, but it won't let me turn it around, so it's hard to really get a grasp of it. But yeah, the table moves in all sorts of different directions. It goes up and down. I don't know how well we can see this, but so it goes up and down, but it also slides left and right. The bottom half of the table here can slide left and right. So yeah, and that's really the tool that allowed me to, to really start to piece things together and have sessions flow together. Once I got that table and was able to move from one modality to another, the table, if I had to say one thing as far as equipment, the table is the way to go. And I know have you gotten the one that's, I don't think so. You didn't quite pull the trigger yet.
I can't agree to that more. For my patients, no, I've just got mine reupholstered, but yes, a good table is key. Coming to see you, Rob, has been, great, because I haven't had to go see my chiropractor as much. It's funny, when I started seeing you, I started seeing my chiropractor less, just because of the treatments you were doing were so effective. Now that we're all quarantined, of course, I'm back to being stiff and achy. But We have another question here. What is the typical length of an appointment? Are your fees posted on the website? How does your work in conjunction with Dr. Keats' work?
Wow, that's a lot of questions. So,
First question, what's the length of a typical appointment?
yeah, so the first session, we spend a lot of time assessing. So there's, consulting back and forth, doing an intake, history, and all that kind of thing. So the first session is a 90-minute session, but you're getting 30 minutes of that for free because we're doing, a really thorough assessment. You get about 60 minutes hands-on. That first session is 125, and yes, all the prices are online. Beyond that, I really, really, really encourage people 90 minutes. I have a package that I worked up. It's a package of 3 90-minute sessions, and they're $390. So you're talking 130 a session instead of the 160, 165, whatever it is. You're saving $90. That's a big savings, and it's like that on purpose because I'm really trying to get clients to understand you got to commit. You got to commit to a handful of sessions. I don't care what you're dealing with. One session of doesn't matter what it is not going to get you where you need to be. So I tell clients, you know what? You come in here, you get that first session, it's discounted. You get that package of 3. That gives us 4 sessions. And then we're able to really get an idea of what's going on with your body, and we're able to manage it much better. And then beyond that, 90 minutes, 60 minutes, I'm still a big 90-minute fan, and you could probably attest to that. But I do have some clients that, are more in the 60 range. Some people just aren't comfortable on the table for more than 60 minutes. But, I would say the same thing if it was just straight up massage. I'm a 90 fan and have pushed that from day one, really.
Agreed. I feel like sometimes, people think they always need a 60. Whether it's, seeing you, Rob, or seeing a massage, I just always feel like if I do a 60-minute whatever, whether it's massage or a stretch, or I just feel like I leave and I didn't get everything addressed, so
yeah, absolutely. And a good way to, a good tip to people really, if you are going into a massage or a stretch or any other kind of therapy and you go in there and you're okay with a therapist focusing on your problem area for 60 minutes, then that's fine, that works. But if you want a therapist to go in there and, address your trouble area or areas and get to the whole body, you're doing a disservice to yourself. That's, to a therapist, that's the difference of spending 10 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes on a neck. Like, it's just not, you're talking very few minutes in a 60-minute session. Everything is rationed out really particularly. You take time to work on something specific, and it's going to take time from something else. So, you're doing a good thing in getting some help and doing some self-care. Do yourself the favor of allowing enough time. You're worth it.
Absolutely. And the last question was, how does your work in conjunction with Dr. Keats' work? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be curious as to your input here too. I find it does different things depending on the client. It's when I can get a client released and get their fascia going, get their bodies moving, get things loosened up, your adjustments are easier. The more you adjust a client, and I know this because I'm a client of yours, that tissue starts to loosen up, the nerves get less irritated, and I'm then able to stretch them better. So it's this beautiful circle of treatment. And, the treatments fall all over the place. I've had some clients come in and I've worked with them for long periods of time, and then they need to get over and see you. I've had some that come in, maybe we go through a handful of sessions and they need something else, and I'm able to refer them over to you. We're able to consult on them. Some people are doing both, and both is a beautiful thing. We've worked together on treatment plans, looking at x-rays of clients for me, patients for you, and, seeing what it is that you're working on with them skeletally that you need me to help with soft tissue wise. Have you found that?
Absolutely. I agree with everything you're saying. I've noticed patients that you have sent me are, yes, they not only are they easier to treat, but they get better a lot faster. It's almost like, some patients I'll have to work on them for a month or two, whereas, when you're seeing them in conjunction with me, their results just, not only do the results get better, but they get better faster. I like to focus on the structural of the spine and the hips and the pelvis, whereas a lot of the work that you're doing is, obviously more on the fascia and the muscles, tendons, and ligaments. So, I've seen great results with the patients that we have, referred back and forth. And, that's a lot of why we're doing this community spotlight, is showing people that, we do collaborate with other providers, because, someone may not be a best fit for me, and that's why I'm glad I have people like Rob in my Rolodex that I can say, hey, listen, it might not be the best fit for you, or I might not be the best fit for you, but I'd like you to go see Rob and, see how his treatments might benefit you better, and vice versa, obviously. So, that is definitely something that, I love collaborating with you, Rob, and other providers. The last question we have here, Rob, is, can you do this while pregnant? Is it better after you have the baby?
So, never an easy answer. Typically, body work for someone in their first trimester is not usually recommended. There are therapists out there who are specifically trained for prenatal. I am not, but if you find one of those folks who is specifically trained, then they will work with you during the first trimester. Beyond that, massage during the first trimester, body work during the first trimester is not. It's not something that happens a lot. And while there isn't anything specific that leads to that, I think it's just the overall caution of the first trimester in general. That's a very risky time period. And, I've told clients this: nobody wants something awful to happen and for any of us to be second guessing, what the cause may have been of that. And during that first trimester, things are risky, and it's not the time to take risks. Beyond the first trimester, I have some clients that I've worked with. FST is great for getting things moving, keeping you moving during that time period, where you're pregnant, that second and third trimester. The longer you go, the more limited your movements are, the tougher they are. So yeah, absolutely. There are certainly some precautions that we take, some adjustments as far as body position. But a lot of fascial stretch therapy is done on the side, which is very often the position you have to be in when you're pregnant on a massage table. So plenty of work to be done when you're expecting.
Wonderful. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions. The last thing I have, same question I asked Joanna last week, Rob, is, what's one unique thing that you have learned since opening your small business?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring it back to something you mentioned with the community, and I give Dr. Colostro, kudos for bringing this up last week. And what I've found is something I wasn't expecting. Thinking of community importance, it wasn't something that entered my brain as far as how my business ran or connections. You and I met at an open house for a gym, and you mentioned that you'd had not had a lot of luck with that type of thing, and you'd had more luck partnering with other wellness businesses. And I have not really done that. You were probably the first person that I really connected with. But after that connection, I was able to connect with somebody else through you, and another wellness provider through you, and this other wellness provider through you, and even not only wellness providers, people in the community, small businesses. That's the thing I've learned. I've been able to help more people because I've been able to reach more people through other folks in the community that are helping them too. So, sometimes, I think you mentioned the other day, sometimes people think that you're not good with other therapists, and I've referred people to other massage therapists. Even when I was a massage therapist, like you said before, sometimes it's just fit, and they're better off. I have a referral network as well. people that'll get off to, a personal trainer, a physical therapist, an MD, lots of different things, mental health professionals. Yeah, community and the importance of making those connections is the thing I've learned most in my business.
Couldn't agree more, Rob. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on today. We are so happy to have you, and everyone, I definitely recommend going to check out Rob. Get on his schedule now. I hope that he's open soon. His website again is www.stayinmotion.biz. He's at 880 Harrison Street in the Blockchain Building. Just go and see the building, guys. The building is so cool. Knock on Rob's door. I'm sure he'll be there.
And in for a consultation. Yeah.
Absolutely. And anything else that's all your info, right, Rob? Anything else I missed?
No, that'll do. There's lots of great information on the website. Usually people come away with, hearing about functional stretch therapy and they have a lot more questions. So there's a ton of information on there, or, reach out, drop me a text, drop me an email, drop me a phone call, 703-662-5606. And I thank you for having me as well.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Rob. We'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great one. Thank you.
Take care.
We'll see everybody next week.